Yeah, so welcome everybody to this community call tagged Building with the Unsung Heroes. So today would be exploring some, I don't want to call them third order technologies. They're actually highly impressive technologies, but a lot of people don't talk about them. Only people that have been building with native, what would I call it, frameworks and the likes that actually do stick with PHP. But most of us, we actually started with PHP. Everybody here actually will have one or two things to do with PHP back then. Even if you don't have anything to do with PHP, at one point in time, you would have done something related to all these headless CMS, and all these headless CMS are mostly being powered by PHP. Even up till date, PHP powers up to 70% of the web that we use. But that's why PHP guys just used to eat money, cool, cool. They know they talk. Yeah. So today we'll be building with Laravel and Vue.js. So I know React people will be like, "Ah, I want to be reactive. We want to react to uh this thing. We want to come here and scatter everything. Why not React?" So this is not a job posting, because when you see job posting, you actually will see like 10 job posting for React before you could see two or three for Vue. So now I want to do justice to it. Like, why now? Vue people are also very good people, and Vue is a very good thing. Even funnily enough, before I started writing React, I first wrote Vue and I fell in love with Vue. But there's a difference between you trying to build project and also wanting to quickly fit in into the market. So that was why I went with React. But today now, I hope everyone can actually hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, okay. So, but today, they said I am MDD, money driven development. That's it. So, so today now we want to build a full stack. Let's just call it full stack app that will be having Laravel as backend and Vue.js as a front end. So they will be giving us endpoints from Laravel, and some people, everything what they know how to do best is calling endpoints. Some people that are married, they call endpoints more than they actually call their wives. So some people now be calling those endpoints today and fitting them in into Vue.js as the front end part of the job. So without further ado, I want Mufti, the Mufti of React.js Nation, to actually brief us more about what we want to do here before we call on board our speakers to give us intro about what they want to walk us through. And then we go for the live session. We see how they build practically, and we also vibe along with them, and we pick one or two things. So, because as software engineers and someone actually that want to fit in into the fast moving wave, I believe the best skill anyone can have in this current generation is to have the ability to learn anything. I think that's the highest skill, because you don't know what you will meet where you will be working. I actually have had a software development gig that I came in as a React stuff and I had to write PHP. You get the point. So I had to go learn some PHP and write PHP. So that's how software is. That's how software is. You can't predict what you'll be needing at any point in time. I know someone that got a job not quite long. It's actually a very high paying job. So that person came in with JavaScript, he did the interview and everything. First day of job, he had to pick up Python. So that's how software is. So we just should be ready for things, because all these things is actually concepts. Software have concept. When you know the concept, to switch between tools will not be really, really daunting. So I'll be calling up Sheikh Abdulateef Olayinka Quadri to actually give us a more clearer view of why we are here and what we want to do here this evening. So The floor is open for you.
نعم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله
وعليكم
وبركاته.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
نعم. So once again, thank you all for joining the call. What he called me for, he has actually done like spoken about a lot of it. Like, so basically, what we'll be doing today is, as he mentioned earlier, like a lot of us in the group, like most of us, like those who are writing backend, they kind of write Node.js, like a lot of them. And those who write front end, like they do front end, a lot of them are just writing React. They are writing React. So the purpose of this call is to expose us to like beyond our current stacks to see how it feels like to be actually building with some of these stacks that we are not so familiar with, and see how easy it is to actually pick them up and to also build us, as he already mentioned, to be to not be static, like to not just be rigid by sticking with one stack, like you just kept writing React. If you want to keep writing React from today till till you leave this earth, you will still have a lot of things to write in React. But try to just um get exposed to other stacks apart from React. That's why we'll be getting introduced to Vue.js today, and also Laravel framework for PHP. Laravel framework for PHP. So we'll also be having a kind of idea on how Laravel could communicate with Vue.js, like integrating our UI with the backend. So just like building a basic application, we see how we can build basic endpoints in Vue.js, how we can connect to the endpoint from Vue.js, and some of these um, functionalities. So inshallah ta'ala, so if you have the opportunity, you can open up your browser and then try to kind of follow up if you have the time. And if you don't, you can just get a note and then judge some things. Um, with that, I'll be calling up the first person who will be taking us through Laravel, like Laravel framework, and that is our Oga Patapata Solih Uthman. Yeah, the session is being recorded this time. Now, so at raise proceed. Now, Sheikh, are you on the call? Um, sorry, it seems he lost connection for a while.
Yeah, I could feel that. Maybe we should call Sheikh Solih Ali to give us a view from his side.
Let's just wait for like, I'm sorry, for like 3 or 2 minutes. It should be back. Yeah, he is back. He's back. Okay, yeah. Sorry for the little Now he's back on the call, and he'll be taking us through Laravel. I wanted to say Laravel JS, sorry, Laravel framework for PHP. Now, yeah, Sheikh Uthman, you can proceed. You have the floor now.
Left again. I think it is
نعم.
connection issue.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa
Waalaikum
alaikum
salam.
assalam.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
No, I'm really very sorry about the connection issue. So it is the internet here. So let's jump into the action. So I would like to display my screen, to present my screen. Can we all see my screen?
Yes.
No.
Yes, we can.
I can see it.
نعم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. So introducing myself first, I'm Usman Soleh. As you can see, so I'll be discussing with us the introduction to Laravel, and then we'll be building a simple RESTful API for a to-do app. So first of all, let me give a brief introduction about Laravel itself. So Laravel is an open source framework, so built by what's it called, Taylor Otwell, and it was officially released in the year 2011. So the Laravel framework is built on top of PHP. It's a PHP framework that is mainly for the development of web applications. So it can be built seamlessly with other front-end technologies to, to build a full stack application, and can also be used to build RESTful applications, RESTful API, where PHP will be serving as the backend language, communicating with other database engines like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and some other ones. So today, if you are familiar with core PHP and advanced PHP, Laravel will make tasks easier for you, definitely. So let me share my experience with Laravel. Before I started writing Laravel, I've been writing PHP for a while, for like, let's say 2 years. I've been a core PHP developer. So I was introduced to Laravel by one of my ogas here, one of my bosses here. So it's Adelat. So he's actually not a PHP developer, but he has been my mentor for a while. So the first time he talked about it, Laravel, I was like, what is Laravel? What is Laravel? So then I was just a small PHP boy then. So then I made research about it, and I started writing PHP, and I fell in love with it. Like, it was so interesting. So it makes the life of writing, building applications from scratch, it makes it easy for you. So I mentioned MVC architecture, that is, Laravel follows the MVC architecture. What do you mean by MVC architecture? So MVC architecture is just a structural architectural design that helps to build web applications faster. So not only Laravel uses this particular design architecture, some other frameworks also use it. So, but Laravel particularly uses MVC architecture. So what is the meaning of the MV and the C? The M, which is the model, the V, which is the view, and the C, the controller. So what does each of these modules do? So the model, as you can see from the diagram, defines the structure of an entity. Yes, it defines the structure of an entity and it communicates directly with the database. The controller communicates with is in between both model and views. The views receives input or request from the user. So whenever a user launches or makes a request to any application, for example, let's assume an application example.com is built with Laravel. So example.com slash whatever the route is. So what displays first is the view, that is that thing we are seeing physically. So that front end we are seeing is the view. Yes, so that is where the view is handled. Then whatever request that is sent from the view, so it passes the route passes it to the controller in such a way that the uh, the the route looks for the appropriate controller for that specific request and passes it to a method inside the controller. Then the controller, if it requires some data from the database, then sends it to the model. The model gets some information from the database and sends it back to the controller, then back to the view. Sometimes the controller does not necessarily have to request data from the model. So it just processes the request and send back to the view for the user to see. So that's how the MVC architecture works. So in any programming language. So let's move on. Why Laravel? Why do we write Laravel? Why will you have to move to Laravel? You have been writing PHP, or you are a software engineer writing Node, but you actually need Laravel for something. Why would you need Laravel? So these are some of the reasons I've stated here, some of the advantages of Laravel. So because of time, I'll just be reading through because we'll be building the API. So I don't know, how many minutes do you have, please? Hello? Malam,
You have around 40 minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So
Let's say we still have like 30 minutes left.
okay, 30 minutes left. Okay. So the first advantage I have stated here, why you'll be needing Laravel, is the scalability of the application. When you're writing core PHP, your application is, unless you are very advanced in the PHP, and then you can implement so many things that has been implemented in Laravel framework. So Laravel framework has been made so easy. Some of the things that you need to start implementing, authentication and some other things, are already implemented on Laravel. So what you just need to install the Laravel and start working, start just building what you need. So scalability, like the number of users, number of requests that will be coming onto your application. So Laravel is there to handle it for you. Then considerable time is saved. So you'll be able to save enough time building application from scratch. Then ensure security of application. So your applications with Laravel are also secure, very, very secure. Laravel will make your task easier. It saves a lot of time if you are planning to develop a website from scratch. Moreover, a website built in Laravel is secure and prevents several web attacks. So what are the requirements to get started with Laravel? So first of all, you need a terminal access if you're on Linux or Mac OS. So if you're on Windows, you need command prompts or git bash or putty. So those tools are very, very essential. So without that, I don't think there is nowhere you can write. There is no how you can write Laravel because you need to run some certain commands. So I'll show you when we start coding. Then Composer. So Composer is just a tool to manage dependencies and libraries. So frameworks and other third-party libraries can be installed easily with the help of Composer. So there are some also frameworks. There are some also PHP frameworks like CodeIgniter, G, and some other ones. So this Composer can help you to install them easily. It can also help you to manage dependencies and libraries, bundles them together into your projects. So without any headache. Then development server, definitely you need that. A development server. So if you have been writing PHP before, you should be familiar with that. A basic example of that is XAMPP or some other ones, so that you can use for development. So they are not. XAMPP is not a production. It's not a production server. So it's just for development. So a development server that is containing PHP, a DB engine, so and either Apache or Nginx. So then the next one is API clients. So API clients like Postman, Insomnia, and Thunder clients can be used to test your endpoints, to test your routes. So when you are done developing, then code editor, definitely you need that. So I don't need to explain that in total. So now let's get started. So those are things you need to get yourself started writing Laravel application. So now let's get started to coding. So first of all, you need to install Laravel. How do you install Laravel? Before I move on, I think we are all following. Are we?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
we
we
are
are.
following.
We are following.
We are
Am I
following.
too fast?
No.
Not at all.
It's good.
Okay. So now, installation. So for us to install Laravel, it's as easy as eating eko and akara or whatever is our best food. So for managing dependencies, Laravel uses Composer. Make sure you have a Composer installed on your system before you install Laravel. So to get Composer installed on your laptop, so visit this URL, getcomposer.org/download. So here you'll be able to see the instructions to download Composer, getcomposer.org. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm using a Linux machine, so that is why I'm having the instructions to install Composer in Linux. So if you are using a Windows machine or a Mac OS, so definitely you'll be seeing, for Windows, you'll be seeing an executable file to download so you can install it easily. For Mac OS, I don't know, so just try it if you are using Mac OS. Visit this URL and then you see the instructions to install it. So after installing our Composer, so you need to check if your installation is correct, proper. So to check that, you need to open your terminal, your git bash or your putty or your command prompt, whatever. So run the command Composer. So once you are able to see this screen, then your Composer is up and running, is active. So then we can get started like that. So now let us installing our Laravel for our project. So we need to run this command, Composer create project Laravel/Laravel. then the name of the folder or the name of the application we want to build. So this example app will be the folder that will be created by Composer. Then it bundles all the Laravel codes into that folder. So now let's see. So first of all, I'll be moving into opt folder, then lamp ht-docs. So first of all, you need to navigate to wherever folder you want your project to reside. So I want my project to reside inside the ht-docs folder in the lamp installation. So I'll be running this command and copy it. Oh, sorry, I can't copy. You just type composer create projects Laravel / Laravel. Then the name of the folder you will be creating, example, let me just call it example app or to do. So we'll be seeing, this that Laravel is installing. So Composer is bundling our application. This is using internet access, definitely. So it is bundling the Laravel source code from the Laravel GitHub repository into our local machine. So after that, then I can see into the folder I've created to do. Then I can open this folder with VS Code, this directory. Now, can we still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this is the VS Code, and this is the structure of the Laravel source code. So I'll just be explaining, because of time, I'll just be explaining some basic things we'll be needing, from this folder structure. First of all, the app folder is the major folder where your application runs. So I'll be explaining the app folder. In the app folder, we have the models, where the model is stored. Then the controller. The controller is inside the HTTP folder. So the controller is here. So this is where you create your controller. Then your views are under the resource folder. Then you can see your views here, like it could be your HTML files or some other things. So this is where you find them. Then the routes. So we have the API.php, and then we have the web.php. This API.php, what it does is, it is where you declared your routes for your API. You are building RESTful API. So this is where you declare your routes. This is where you define your routes. But for web, if it is a web application like that you run on the browser, so this is where you declare the routes for that one. Then also I will also show us the resource folder where you'll be having some resources. Okay, views is here, CSS is here, then JavaScript is also here. So these are the structures I will be explaining now, and that is what we'll be working with now. So you can explore more after this session, so to understand some of this folder. Yeah. So we have installed our Laravel, and we have opened it on our code editor, VS Code. So the next thing for us to do To ensure that our installation is all right and okay, we need to run the command php artisan serve. So the Laravel is has a certain command that you use all the time. It's called PHP artisan. So PHP artisan is is the command you will be using to execute some of the things you will be doing in Laravel. So now going back to my VS Code, I'll be running this command. I'll be opening my terminal here. So you can still use your whatever terminal. I can still use this terminal, but I prefer using this now. So I'll be running PHP artisan serve. Sorry, serve, not server. So now, server running on this URL. So you can click on this URL to view. So once you can see this, once you can see this screen, definitely your Laravel has been installed successfully. So you can just navigate through all of these links here. So this is the documentation for Laravel, the official documentation. Then this Laracast is like a community based where question and answers are always provided. Then the news and the ecosystem. So once you can see this screen, definitely your Laravel is active. So now let us go back. So our Laravel is active. So the next thing for us to do is to start writing code. So first of all, I said we'll be building a to-do app. So for us to build a to-do app, definitely there is an entity we'll be needing. So the entity is what we call task. So for every to-do, there must be a task. So we are creating task, we'll be creating task, we'll be deleting task, we'll be updating task, then we'll be completing and uncompleting the task. I hope you can see here because it is raining here, it's kind of raining.
Yeah, we can still hear you. We can still hear you.
Alright, so let us move on. So I said we'll be creating an entity, we'll be dealing with an entity called task. So that's the only entity we'll be dealing with actually. So dealing with that entity, we will need to create a model. Creating a model, then creating the controller, creating the migration, and then some other things will do. So let's go back to our slide. So okay, before we move on to that, let me quickly explain this. Environment variables. So what are environment variables? So environment variables are a set of variables that will be globally used in your Laravel application. So the environment variable is always without env in the root of your application. So this file is where your environment variables, anything configuration about your application, this is where they are kept. So the application name is here, the application environment, so everything is there. So what we'll be dealing with is just the database configuration for now. So the database configuration, this is the section of the database configuration. So we'll be using MySQL. So if you're using another database entry, probably PostgreSQL. So you just
Sorry,
want to
your
change
sound
this to
is cracky.
really
It's cracky. Can
okay.
you do something to it, please?
Let me check it. Sorry. Now, is the voice okay now?
Yes.
Now, alhamdulillah. So let us move on. Yeah. Okay. So okay. So I was explaining the environment very well and creating the database. So after seeing our
Yeah, yeah.
environment variables for database connection section,
Yeah.
so
We are
I
no
would say,
longer sharing your screen. Oh.
oh, sorry.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I believe it's kind of having a kind of
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa
connection
barakatuh.
issues due to the rain. So we beg everybody to just stay calm for a while he tries to rejoin. Now, Jazakumullah khair.
No, no problem.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Now, alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This is my first time to be joining this call. I got the link from Yusuf Adeyem. So is there any group that I will be? Is there any group for me to join the other class, or this is just the only class?
We have a group, so I will send the details to through the chat, inshallah.
All right. Jazakumullah khairan.
Jazakumullah khair.
Sorry everyone for the short delay. So the uh, laptop I'm using just misbehaved. So I'm very sorry. So now let us just rush through all of this and then let's start with it. So the database configuration. So creating the database, you visit localhost. You have installed your XAMPP. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, definitely.
Localhost PHP admin. So then create your new database. I'll be calling it to do. Then create. So then the new database name is to do. So then this database name, that's what I'll be using in the configuration. That's what I'll be using in the configuration of our project. So I'll be changing this to my SQL. Then I'll be changing this database DB name to do. Then the DB username. Since you are using XAMPP, if you are using XAMPP, so it should be root. Then the default password should be empty unless you have changed the password. So I think we are good to go about that. Then you have some other configurations here. So you'll be having the email configuration, the AWS. You'll be using AWS. So the AWS, some of the AWS configuration, and some other things here. So that I can't be explaining now. So let's move on. After that, we have updated our .env file with the database information. So now let's create our models and migration. So as I've said, the models is the part of the architecture that communicates with the database. So to create the model together with the migration, so I'll be running PHP artisan make model task. So normally, since Laravel is object-oriented based, so the model will always be in OOP format. So then, when naming our class file, let us ensure it is in camel case. Yes, is that camel case or snake case? Okay, camel case. Yeah. So the first letter should be a capital letter. So it should be in uppercase task. So let's assume I'll be having a combined word. So task to do. So it should be something like this. So that's the approach to do that. Then I'll be adding m, the argument m to it, meaning I also want to create migrations for this model. So migration is just is a file or a system that creates the structure of database, that creates the structure of our database. So this task is an entity. So before we start using it, we need to create the structure or the schema of the table. So this I'm adding to it will definitely create a file known as the migration file. So model created successfully and created migration. This. So create task table. So definitely we can see our uh, migration inside the database. Then we have it here. So these are migration for the data for the task table. And we have some other migrations here. So these ones definitely comes with Laravel. So like the user migration, so it comes with Laravel. So the one I just created now is this, showing the date appended with the name of the migration file. So inside the migration file, we have two methods. We have the up method and the down method. So the up method is um, what is running, what is starting up the table, while the down method is reversing what the up is doing. So whenever I run the migrate, this action, this up action is executed, and then it creates whatever I asked it to create here. So now, what do we need? What are your structure do we need? So we need the table. So this table is an object inside Laravel that has been inbuilt. So table uh, string, then the type of data type I'll be needing for that was title, and then table text. As for the description, so this ID will generate an auto increment column and an auto increment column. Then this one will be generating a string column named title, and this will be generating a text column named description, and this will be generating two columns, that is the date created and the date updated automatically. So then this down method will be dropping the task table if it exists. Schema drop if exists the task table. So this is what this is doing. So we are done with this. So we can run PHP artisan migrate. So this command will migrate the database. First of all, let us check our database if it has any table inside of it. No table, then we need to run this command. So running this command, so it executes all the migrations inside the migration folder. So the create user table, the password reset table, those ones are incorporated into Laravel and comes with it. So this is just the one we created just now. So let us refresh our database so we can see the task table here. The ID, the title, the description, the created at, the updated at. So we are done with the migration. So that is how the migration is done, basically. So I will clear the screen. So now let us move on to our what's it called? Our model. Inside the app folder, in the models folder, we have the task. So we'll be inside the models folder, so we'll be declaring the fillable fields. So I said this model is what communicates with the database. So we'll be having protected fillable. So what are the fields that will be fillable here? So we have just the title and the description. Oh, sorry, I should have the status reverse the migration PHP artisan migrate. Yes. Sorry. Now we need to expect it from this. Sorry. Okay, sorry. So I need to just go back to migration. So to go back to default, so I need to add something into the migration file for the task. So So going back into the database folder and migrations, then this. So I'll be creating a status field. Status. Then I can now migrate. So now, so I have migrated it. So we should have the status field here. So of data type boolean. So it can be true or false. Then back to our model class. Then I'll be having the fillable columns here. I'll be having the title, the description, and the status. So this is what I'll be reading here. So this is what I'll be reading here, fillables. So that's all with this. Then let us go to our controller. We need to create a controller. Then after controller, creating the route. So creating our controller. So PHP artisan self. Sorry, PHP artisan make controller. Task controller. So it is always a good practice to add controller to the word controller to whatever name you be naming your controller. So that's why I'm writing task controller here. So controller created successfully. And let us go into our controllers folder. Models. We have the HTTP then the controller. Sorry, task controller. So here, this is where we'll be having the controller that will be controlling each of the routes that we'll be dealing with. So now let us move on to the routes. I've created the controller. We are coming back to this one. So first of all, let us define each of those routes. So let us come down to the routes folder, then the API. So we'll be dealing with the API, not the web.php in this case. So the API here, routes, then the get method. So what will the route be? Task. Okay, let's start with the create task. Then we'll be calling the appropriate controller that will be handling this route. So the controller is the task controller. Task controller. Then with the method, the appropriate method. So let us call the method store. So this method will be sorry. So this method will be sorry. It's sorry, what's happening here? I want to check something. Sorry. How many minutes do you have left? Check out the. He said, I can't hear you. 10 minutes. Okay.
We the plan was to stop around 6 p.m. but we actually somehow out of time. So I think we can just continue. So if we can wrap up with building endpoint and everything, we'll probably we schedule the Vue.js till probably the coming week. We don't know, but we should just be through with Laravel and see what time we still have left.
Okay. So the create task. This is the create task endpoint. So we're writing the class here. So this is the mistake I made earlier. So I was writing, I was doing this. So instead of having the task controller, then indicating it as a class, then this is the method it will be calling. So let us go into this task controller and let us create that method. The method is called store. So definitely the store method will be expecting some requests of type requests. So we'll be validating the request here, then processing the request and getting the request stored into the database. So I have the replicate here. So let me just copy because to save time. So I'll just explain the lines of code we have there. So, so So here, I have the validator class. So the validator class is inbuilt inside of Laravel. So those are one of the advantages of Laravel. So you can just use all of these inbuilt methods easily. So I'll be validating the requests. So I'll be validating the title as required. So it must be in edge field. Then on this section, I'll be checking if the validation fails. So if the
Please,
validation fails, then
Ali
it
Someone,
returns.
can you please help us to move to speakers, please?
So if the validation fails, so it returns the validation error. So having the validation error and then setting a status code of 400. Then the task array. So here is the title. So this name, this index of this index of this array must actually be the same as what you have named your column. So title, then the requests, we change this to title. And the description as request, then to description. So then the new task is we can now have our task class, then sorry, create then the task array. So this is sending this array into this class. Then if the task is not null, if the response from this place from this variable is not null, then we return the status code of 200 and then the message task created, and then returning the new object of the task. So then if it fails, then we return the status code of 500, that is internet server error. Probably there's something wrong with the server. Then we will return a response in JSON format, then with a status code of this that is here. So now we have created the store method inside our task controller. We have created the route, so we have linked the route to this controller. So now the next thing for us is to test our endpoints, our create endpoint. So I think to ensure that let me ensure that our app is still running. So I need to run PHP artisan serve. So I'll be using this todo client, this Thunder client for testing my API. So I just prefer it because it is inside of VS Code as well. So it's just an extension inside VS Code. So I'll be creating a new request. So 127.0.0.1, then port 8000. So the post method. I'm not sure if, let me check. Oh, sorry. This should be a post method. We are creating a task in the post method, and in the body should have a JSON of title, the new task, then the description. So the description is not actually required. So description, the tasks description. So let me see if the JSON is not formatted properly. So no, we have that. Then so this is the body of our request. So this is the base URL. Then will be the base URL / API. So that's the base URL. Then we'll be appending the endpoint. So the endpoint is create task. So our method is post. So this is the request URL, and then this is the body of the request. Then let's send these requests. Connection was refused by the server. Okay, I think so I initially ended the server that was running. So when I did Ctrl+C, so I can send now. So okay, we're having an error here. Task controller on line 5, on line 13, sorry, line 13. Okay, so the validator, so the validator class, so I need to actually import the validator class before I can use it. So let me just get it here. So okay, it's showing an error before. I think that is solved. Okay, I have another error here. Oh, the task. Okay, I didn't import that as well. So I need to import that to use.
It seems he lost connection again. So, um, or is it from my side? Okay, okay. Yeah, he's back now. Yeah, I can see that you are presenting, but I really can't see your screen from my side. I don't know. Um, Yeah, apologies everyone. So the speaker is actually having connection issues. So we hope we'll be back very soon. Um,
Am I still here?
yeah, you are back.
Ah, um, so I'm sorry, the network is so frustrating. So, okay, I need to, where we stopped, I need to just seems I'm back again. So I'm sorry. Now the country we find ourselves. So I've tried using two different networks now. So they are all doing the same thing. So I'm sorry. So what I want to do now is to check if the status is as a default value. So that is why it is complaining the other time. So I need to set the default value to 0 as a boolean value. So it hasn't set to 0. Then let us test our endpoint again. So now we have the status code of 200, then the message task created, and the new task object is inside this data. So now we can view from here and see our task inside the table. So now let us quickly create a get requests to get the lists of our tasks. So we'll be creating another endpoint route get then tasks. So having task controller, then so these are controller, the name of the controller, then the method that will be handling this particular endpoint. So the name of the endpoint will be show all. So going back into our controller, so let us create show all. Let's get it from here. So the show all method will just be displaying all of the tasks we have. Then this is the our task class. Then getting the list of the task paginated in by 10 like 10 items per page. Then if the task is not empty, not null, then return the set of tasks as a response with status code of 200. And then if it is null, then send the status code of 404 and the message of no record found. So let us check that. Changing our endpoint to tasks, then get requests, sending. So tasks. So we have all of the tasks here. So we have just a single task here. So that's why we are having it inside the data array here. Then we're having the paginated URLs. So for page 1, then for the first page, for the last page, for the previous page. So we have all of the URLs here. So you can also try it yourself. You can see all of these URL. So if I copy this and use it here, so we should be able to get that of page 1, assuming we have more than 10 items in in the task. Then let us also quickly create another endpoint to get a single task. ID, then show. So the method that will be handling this is the show method. So you can see I'm having the endpoint I'm having here is task / the ID. So this ID here will be the unique ID, the identification number for the what's it called, for the task. So now let us go into our task controller, just copy the show method here. Into the controller. So here is the show method, taking the ID as a parameter, that is the ID of the item wants to show. Then we have the the task model here. So find the ID we are getting here. So we are getting that into the task variable. So if the task is not null, if it is not empty, then return the task as a response with a status code of 200. And then if it is null, then return a status code of 400 that is not found. So let us test that as well. Task 1. So get method, yeah, definitely. So let me see if our route is okay. Get. So now we can send. So we will be getting just the what's it called, the single item we have searched for. Then I think we should also be able to complete and set a task to not complete. So by changing the status, sending either true or false to as a request. So and just use task API / updates status. Then update status of 1. So we'll be using a put method. So because we will be updating the status of that particular item. So now let us go into our API, create a put method route, update status. Sorry. just use underscore. And ID. Yeah, the task controller. The class. Then done. So I'll be creating. Okay, let me just update status. So I'm creating this method inside this class, update method. So let me copy that from here. So I'll definitely send you the after the session ends. I will send the GitHub repo to the already built application. So you can just have a look at the code base. So I'll go into the okay. I'll come over here and the update status. So the update status, definitely I'll be needing a request because from the front end we'll be sending the status of either true or false. So validation, we'll be validating the request coming status. The status should be required and it should be a boolean value. Then if the status is if the validation is false, if it fails, then return the status code of 400. If otherwise it is not false, then search for the requests, for the request ID, search for it from the task model. Then if the task is not null, if it is not empty, then update the task where ID is equals to the request ID, then update the status field with the request status. The status that's coming from the request. So that is it. That is this. Then update the status field with this particular status. Then marked done. So if this statement is not null, if the output is not null, then definitely the update is done successfully. Then the task is the request response is 200, and then task completed or uncompleted. If the status is true, the task is completed, and if otherwise, the task is uncompleted. So then if the result from this statement is null or is empty, definitely there is an error somewhere. So return a status code of 500 to the user. So sorry, I should be returning status code of response status here. Then here, so I'll be returning 404 if the request here is not found. So if the request is not found, I'll be returning the 404 here. So let us test these endpoints as well. Update status, update hyphen underscore status. So ID of 1, then I'll change, and just add status here. So this can be true, either true or false. So if this is true, undefined function put. Sorry. So send the request again. Not found. Check the route again. Update status. Send. Okay, now the task is completed. So you can actually see from here. Check the status of the task. It has been set to 1. So then you can set this to false again and then send. So task uncompleted. So check here and you see the status is changed to 0. Then finally, I think we should be able to also delete the task. So the endpoint I'll be using for that is task, then the ID, then I'll set the method to put. So I'll not be needing a body for that. So setting the endpoint here, task, then the ID. This should be delete. Then remove. So I'll call this method remove. And I'll come over here. And then I'll need to quickly copy something from here. Remove the remove method. So the remove method takes the ID of the requests of the item we'll be deleting. So it takes the ID. So let's just see. So this ID. So that's what the remove method takes. Then it search just like we did in the update. So it looks for the ID if it exists. If it does not exist, so it automatically returns a 404 status code. But if it's 404 status code, but if it does exist, then we delete. So delete where ID equals to the ID gotten here, then you delete the requests. So if the delete task is not null, definitely the task has been deleted, and then you can send a response of 200 status code and 500 otherwise. So I think let us test that, and that will be the end of the endpoints. So task and delete. So task deleted. And if you try deleting it again, so we should get not found. So the task has already been deleted, so we should definitely get a not found error. So let us test each of those endpoints once again. So creating a task, create task, then posts. We'll be having this as our body, then send. Post, no be post. The post method is not supported for these routes. Any problem with that? Create task. Oh, sorry, I'm having something here. All right, so just create task only without any addendum. So we're having a new task. So let me just create another one. Another new task. So we have created 2 tasks now. So let us list each of those tasks. So tasks, set this to get, then so we see the list of tasks. The first one with ID2, the second one is ID3. Then we have the pagination information, the first page URL, and then some other pagination information. So then getting the a single task ID. So let me just add one. So not found. Definitely one has been deleted initially. So I can check for 3 to another new task. So I can also check for 2 as well. So then what other endpoints do we have there? So update status. Update status of 3. So that should be the put. Then status takes the parameter of status, set it to be true, and send this update status. Sorry, I'll be ending the class soon. So task completed, then false, setting it to false, task uncompleted. And finally, plus remove, okay, task ID, then set this method to delete. So task deleted. So we have the task deleted already. So I think I've come to the end of the session. So thank you very much for listening. I'm very sorry for whatever delay I have caused. So now وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام
لا
ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام
جزاكم الله
عليكم. جزاكم الله خير.
عبد القادر Barak.
So we've come to the end of the half. We are halfway through, Sha. So we thought we will be having a full-time, like a full stack app, but what we were able to do today is just to build the endpoints to get them ready. I think what caused the delay was through the installation, setting up everything like that. So actually, I did mean we had it on ground before, and we were explaining, okay, this is what you do for this is how you get here, and how the YouTubers used to do, like Brad Traversy and all those people. So we would have maximized our time. But we've tested it and we've learned, at least anyone that doesn't know how to write Laravel or what Laravel entails today should have a clue of how to go about Laravel. And since the code will be available for us publicly on the GitHub repo, so we also can check through it. So we are using this medium to inform us that we would be rescheduling the front-end parts. The APIs are ready, so it's just for us to actually have the view bootstrapped, and you can call those APIs, build the components, and structure the whole interface. Then plug those API in into the necessary points. So will communicate with us and let us know, but that will not be next month. It probably should be next week, hopefully, so that we can get that done. So we thank everyone for showing up and for making it up to this point. We are really grateful for believing in us that, okay, we want to do something, and you actually come over to check on what we are doing here. So Jazakumullah khairan. So I don't know if Sheikh Abdul Qadir has anything to add.
Naam, jazakumullahu khairan. I actually don't have nothing much to add. We have had a another session, like session for Q&A for some little questions, but we are sincerely out of time. So if you have any questions, so I just posted the link to join Muslim Builders. You can just fill in the form and you'll be added to the group. So if you have any question, just you can send it to me personally on WhatsApp, or you can send it to the group and it will be readily available to just answer any question you have regarding Laravel, PHP. If you even need a crash course on how to migrate from Node.js, Express.js to Laravel, so it's free. Like if you want to move from Django as well, it's free. So Jazakumullah khairan for joining the call, and we really appreciate it. So inshallah it will be communicated to us during the week, like on the next call on Vue.js, inshallah ta'ala. And jazakumullahu khairan. Yeah, with that I believe we can um so if anybody has any other contribution, so within the next 2 minutes we can have it, or any comment within the next 2 minutes, else we would wrap up the call here for today.
Assalamu alaikum.
Now, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
I I joined you late,
Okay.
but the only thing I didn't have any addition. I have question. And my
Okay.
question is that I'm new on this platform. So how am I
Okay.
going to do? At least was it not day before yesterday? They sent a link to our platform for those people that wants to learn Python. So how are we going to help we novice? How are you going to help us out?
Are you talking about the Muslim Builders group?
Yes, on the Muslim Builders group, they sent a
Okay.
link 2 days or 3 days ago concerning the Python tutorial.
I'm not so sure I'm aware of that though.
Ha. Okay, no problem then. Maybe I will chat you up later. I will send you the link.
Okay. No problem,
So,
inshallah.
so
So
I'm
we
I, I'm a
actually have
novice.
we have engineers working with some of these tasks, like stacks, be it Node.js, Express.js, Vue.js, React, anything. So if you need guidelines or anything, you can just message the group. So we have a couple of people we can just tag easily to resolve if you are blocked, if you need help in what to learn and what not to learn and some of those things. So we have people in the group that can just shed light on some of these stacks, inshallah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khair.
Amin wa antum jazakumullah khairan. Naam, jazakumullah khairan, everyone, once again. So with that, we'll be wrapping up the call. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alaikum
وعليكم
assalam.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.